Hi, everyone. It's Gloria Hester here. I'm here with my friend Laura McCaffrey today. And I said we're talking about all things holy. And we're talking about relationships and the consciousness, the collective consciousness. And we can hold a space for both. What's personal to each one of us is usually universal. And what's universal is usually personal to each one of us, both men and women on some level. So I'm really happy to be recording this conversation with Lori, and I'm happy to share it with you. So welcome, Lori. Thank you for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Gloria, Hester. I love you, girl.
So when Lori and I first connected this morning, I was sharing with her this analogy of what I feel like for maybe not all women on the planet, but some women on the planet. I feel like if you were floating in some water and you're on like a nice float, and sometimes a current come and it kind of flips you upside down. You need to be able to upright your float again. And so speaking, all things energy, I'm not sure when the energy got flipped the way it has, but I know for some people it's very important to be able to upright that again for yourself rather than thinking, someone else can do that for you. We all can support each other, but we need to understand how we're wired. And I was also sharing with Lori that a lot of women are relating to men in their lives as though they expect that man to think like a woman and act like a woman and be a woman. And so it just doesn't work that way. There's a lot of hardwiring in each of us, depending on whether we came here with certain levels of hormones in our bodies. And so they're going to be very important drives that actually are to keep us healthy. And I think there's a gap there. There's a lot of misunderstandings. So Lori, we wanted to do a call where we could speak directly to some of that. For those of you who might need this, if you're listening and you know this isn't you, feel free to put your awareness somewhere else, because there are many places you could put your awareness on. So Lori, is there anything you'd like to add to what I just shared?
I'd love to. Thank you. Again, I called because so many of my friends and myself have really felt that we aren't treading water, we are underwater.
Mm.
And so I called you with all the compassion in my heart for clarity on this and what's really going on, because the emotions are almost overwhelming. And I know you would have those answers to help calm my spirit and give me this information to support me again and help me take this raft that is like burying me and flip it over.
Yeah.
And I know because of your deep, deep knowledge of spiritualism and the energetic fields and the frequencies going on, I would love you to share, because we understand it's not just me, it's many women. And so we're speaking of a large collective consciousness. And we're aware that there's a male and there's a female, and they're both inside of us, but they also play outside of ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
And so I would love you to help me, give me these tools to flip over the boat.
Yeah. Flip yourself upright. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We need to begin with, okay, why has this happened? What's going on with that? And then I'd love you to share with us the best way to flip that boat over.
Okay. So yeah. In this.
So let me finish with this. Let's start, Miss Gloria, if you don't mind. Explain to me what's going on with the male and female, and why are we so wonked out right now? What's going on with this dynamic energy?
Yeah. So one of the main things that's coming to mind, Lori, as you were talking, that I know is happening, that I see happening. So when anyone, whether you were born in a male body or female body, however you identify, anyone, if you're feeling stress, your testosterone, well, you're going to take on more of a masculine role when you feel stressed. So if you have two people who are partnered together and both are feeling stressed, they're both going to go predominantly into their masculine energy. And what that'll look like is you'll look like you're going to start to butt heads. And so you'll just think, oh my gosh, this person's inconsiderate, or this person, all the judgment comes in at that point, and it's just not helpful. It is the opposite of helpful, right? So you,
Yeah,
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 the opposite.
Gloria.
But it, so that's what's happening. Just know if, and some people they're stressed, but they may not know they're stressed. They think, oh, I'm fine, and to themselves, they're kind of shutting out some things that are running, and that's fine. You don't want to try to convince anyone that they're stressed if they think they aren't. What you want to be able to do, because each person, whether they know it or not, they're trying to get their needs met on a level that runs beyond conscious awareness. And it's really, actually, it's a beautiful thing. You just don't want to make people wrong for how they're wired. And the way you can start with that is to honor yourself first, meaning what your true needs are. But you don't want to, if most people are not in a place to be able to share with another what those needs actually are, because they themselves aren't clear on what those needs are. And so for women, for many, many reasons, evolutionarily, we're wired as women to want to please. And there are so many reasons for that. So, and they're beautiful reasons. There's no one's wrong here in either direction. But so that's one thing, to just recognize that if you're feeling stressed, you'll go into your masculine, and so will your partner, regardless. So you want to become aware of that so that you're not butting heads, and coming out of the testosterone and estrogen talk for a moment. I want to share, there's a woman named Dr. Pat Allen, and I love one of the things that she shares. She says that for the masculine, you need to ask yourself, for men and women, ask themselves these questions, and they're very, very helpful. And it may take you some time to get clear on those answers for yourself, but you can ask yourself, would I rather have my thoughts respected, or would I rather have my feelings cherished? And don't try to do this with a partner. Do this on your own first. You're the one who's going to need to be clear on this. If you can't make it conscious, chances are good you're going to butt heads if you have a significant other. And so you can ask yourself again, the question is, would I rather have my thoughts respected, or would I rather have my feelings cherished? And again, I learned that question through Dr. Pat Allen. And so if you're clear on that when you're relating to another person, which one matters to you the most, if you'd rather have your thoughts respected, you are more of a masculine energied person in the way you're relating to this other person. If you'd rather have your feelings cherished, you are more of a feminine energy person in this way you're relating to another person. And so one is not better than, or we're not talking about a power struggle here at all. It's quite the opposite. It's respecting the dynamics of the agreements that you have with one another. And it's one of the best things you can do in your relationship. First, you've got to get clear for yourself. And then you can have that conversation with someone that you're relating with, and give them the space too. And just know that at any point, you may feel like actually you're learning and growing, and you may think, oh, actually, I'm a person, I would rather have my thoughts respected, for example. If that's the case, you need to make that clear as well, and don't think that you can have both. Dr. Pat Allen, she's very humorous, and she says that if you're a person who thinks you have to have both, you're a narcissist and you should be single. Okay.
I love that.
Yeah, I do
I
too.
love that.
Yeah. So yeah. So how does that land, Lori? What are your feelings around that, or thoughts around that?
Oh, Gloria, I love that. I love what you just shared. I think it's right on target. also, you brought up the idea of the combativeness when you're both in the same feeling or you're both on the same side. And that's very interesting what you shared with us about when you need your thoughts respected, the male and the female, like a husband and wife, if they both are in that same thought process, they start fighting. So I really appreciate you sharing that information with us, because now we can resolve that. So what's the best step for if you and your husband or a loved one or partner are starting to fight like that? What is the best course of action
You
for
know,
the woman to take?
I love this question. And, there are so many courses of action that could be quote unquote the one. But you can't take them all at once. What you have to do is step back into your own field, if you will, your own being, and be honest with yourself. Above everything, honor, if you can't honor yourself, you really cannot honor another. So oftentimes if people feel like they've been, mistreated, used and abused, there's a boundary issue there somewhere. And for everyone, and especially when you connect as romantic partners, the deeper the intimacy, the more you will actually bring up unprocessed childhood wounds in one another. That's why they get, it can be so complicated. It can also be quite beautiful. It is one of the most beautiful things, and humans are wired for connection. So because we are wired for connection, even if there's been deep levels of, whether it's been trauma or abuse, some people say right now about 70% of the people on the planet have some level of unprocessed trauma. I'd rather talk about the healing of what it takes to heal. And what that looks like is knowing yourself really well and creating a community for yourself where you do feel held and nurtured. Women are naturally givers. And so it'll be really counterintuitive, I think, for women to do what I'm about to suggest if you're female, if you're estrogen dominant. So estrogen loves to nurture. We love women naturally are givers. And so we oftentimes women are trying to relate to men as though they are women as well. And they think that's why women think men are selfish, because they think that women have these wired in agreements that we've all made with one another. Men are not wired into those agreements. And so we very unknowingly set ourselves up to deplete ourselves and then say men are selfish. Okay. How does that land for you, Lord, what I just said?
Oh my God, that's like a home run.
Okay.
So not only are we drowning,
Yeah.
but now we're not feeling validated. And
Yeah.
now we're actually thinking that the responsibility, because they're selfish, lies with them. And what you're sharing with me is it really lies within ourselves.
And I want to add this. So men are wired to meet women's needs really beautifully. That is wired in them. It's just that we need to learn how to relate to ourselves for what we actually are and relate to men for what they actually are. And then it's really, really fantastic and beautiful. And it brings life forth. And it's one of the most dynamic experiences on the planet. And one of the most, it's like that heaven and earth thing that we're all coming together, bringing in for one another. But it actually, if we look at it just through the lens of estrogen and testosterone, when a woman who's healthy, and that's a whole other topic, and that's why I'm also very involved in the dynamics of food, because these are deeper lying things in our physiology as well, energetically and physiologically. So there are many ways that we can support ourselves to feel nurtured so that we can nurture. And the most important part of that is that we're able to receive. Because if we can't receive, we will become very depleted. And so we need to train ourselves to be able to do that so that those who are on the planet who are here to partner with us we'll be able to provide in that way, because it's in our receiving that it actually raises their testosterone, and not putting the expectations on them that they're women. Again, I'm going to say that because these hormonal levels, we all have some of each within, just like you said, we have the masculine and the feminine within us. And for some women, actually, we need a very healthy, strong, more of a healthy, strong inner masculine, so that we can boundary ourselves appropriately, because we've not been taught how to boundary ourselves appropriately, so that we are safe enough to do the choosing. That's very important in this. What are we allowing and not allowing? So let me know if that's specific enough, Lori, maybe too kind of ethereal, but let me know.
I feel that you're definitely in the right direction. For better understanding, this is my takeaway from what you shared in a physical way.
Mm-hmm.
The woman in this, because we were discussing being in a conflict state with the male. That's what we were speaking of. It's like, okay, I'm fighting with this guy. What am I going to do? What are my choices? How do I help myself? Okay. It's no longer about him, because I'm agitating him and he's agitating me. So what do I do?
So good. Yeah.
And
You're
so how do we really, what you shared with me is how do we support ourselves?
Yeah. Okay.
So,
can I stop you there, Lori? Because I can answer this. I want to hold that thread of what you just brought forward. And if we go further, I can't hold the thread. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
The way we do that is, if you're in conflict with your partner, take some time on your own and get clear about, do you need your thoughts respected or do you need your feelings cherished? And once you know which one that is, you can come back with your partner, and you want to create some safe ground for people to be honest. And a lot of people have left themselves, kind of walking on eggshells in their relationships because they haven't known how to do this. And so there's no judgment or blame. It's just, it hasn't been modeled. And so let's just say, what if everyone had a good reason for doing all the things they're doing? Thank you, Allison Armstrong, for that statement. That's who I learned that from. But if you can create a safe place where you just give them space and let them decide, when they're relating to you, do they want their thoughts respected or do they want their feelings cherished? And once you've come to the place where you're like, okay, I'm going to take, this, I want my feelings cherished, and the other person's like, I want my thoughts respected, then that's honoring in itself. And then what that means is, the person who wants their thoughts respected, they're taking that role as dominant leader. As weird as that sounds to use those words, but I can tell you right now, when you're working with a horse, when the horse knows that it works. And it's not about power over, it's about cooperation with, and it works. I'm 5'2", I weigh 109 pounds. I can't out muscle a horse. Horses are 1,200 pounds. And so there's an agreement there where you're working that way. I work with horses somatically. So there's an agreement there where I'm waiting for their feedback. And it's a beautiful way to learn in your nervous system some of these principles, because if you've never had them, if you've not been safe or vulnerable enough to have them, whether you're a man or a woman, it can feel very threatening, because neuroception, when we're very, very young, our neuroception is formed, and it's taught that neuroception is beyond conscious awareness. That's how it's taught. And I would say for the, large majority on the planet, that is the case. So neuroception is trying to keep you safe. It's looking for what's dangerous. And if your family of origin wasn't safe emotionally, if your family of origin was dangerous, and someone starts to get close with you or you get close with them, your neuroception will come up and it will say, this is dangerous. Don't go there. They're starting to feel like family. And we both know family is not safe. Family is dangerous. So you could sabotage, and the other person won't know that your neuroception is sabotaging, and you won't know that your neuroception is sabotaging. So please have compassion for yourself and everyone else right now on the planet, And, we're not talking, we're right now, you and I, we're talking significant other romantic relationships, lover in the truest sense of the word. We're talking at that level. And just know this is across the board too. This is for all of us. You may have a dog that you've rescued and your dog has neuroception. So you want to be aware of, like, you don't know the past experiences of that dog that you've rescued, but they have their neuroception that's keeping them safe. So if it's a new dog and they don't know you and you don't know them, don't lean over them, because that can be threatening to their neuroception and they may feel the need to try to protect. That's just one example. I know that many people don't understand the energetics of animals, and sometimes the animal suffers for that. And that's very, very unfortunate. So humans, educate yourselves and be kind and lean back, give space. And and you can do that for your partner. And so that's where I was going to go with this next, Lori, is that once you've made an agreement with your partner about who has their thoughts respected, that by definition, you've got a cooperative. They're the leader, and it means they take responsibility, the more responsibility for the provision, the providing, the protecting, and the leading, because that's what leaders do. And we're wired to have good leaders. We're wired to be, some people are wired to be good leaders. You need to recognize the difference, because right now we're in a time where, these things in the animal world, the leaders come to the top, in a very natural way. Nature never lies. Nature's not wrong. Human minds create things that need to be solved. So not all human minds are doing that. Some human minds do that. So it's kind of in this place where you really have to get to know your own inner knowing really well. Do your work, do your own inner work so that you're in your knowing, because, as women, we also have, oh my gosh, we're wired with this beautiful level of all kinds of knowing. Now, we're also in a time where there are a lot of things in the environment that disconnect us from our ability to have like a due north, a good GPS system. I won't go into that on this call, just because, if we go into that, we're going to go in a completely different topic, but it's a very relevant topic, and people, it is something that we need to learn about. But once you've got your people in agreement, you've got your cooperative dynamic duo, it means you do have to step back and allow them to take responsibility for some of these things. You may be in a place where you're like, okay, actually I'm the woman, but I really need my thoughts respected. And you may be partnered with a man who needs his feelings cherished. And so it is okay if you guys flip back and forth. It's great. You just need to let each other know that's where you are. So you really always want to be negotiating and renegotiating when you're feeling the need to do that. And I want to add this, as a woman, our corpus callosum hasn't been damaged by massive amounts of testosterone. Testosterone, when you're in utero, if you're going to be born as a male, a lot of testosterone will wash right over your brain. And that testosterone actually, it damages the corpus callosum. So the ability to communicate between the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere simultaneously, the way a woman might be able to do, it's not true in that way for a man. It's harder for them to access their feelings. And our culture says, by necessity, has men not feel. So there's a lot going on there. Again, women don't relate to your men as though they are women. They're not misbehaving. They're not wrong. They have great strengths and qualities, and we need them. Okay. So that's another thing for the male listeners. Please know you are still very much needed by the women in your lives. And if you don't have a woman in your life, there is a woman who's looking for you. So, but you need to step forward and lead, and because the dynamic of that is so powerful. So, Lori, does that answer your question? Do you want
Absolutely, absolutely, Gloria. And I just want to quickly recap, and then of course add anything you want to my recap. Just going to head this off with what you shared with me. What I've gotten out of it is we need to go within and decide as a woman, because I'm a woman. I'm talking about myself.
Yeah.
And there's some of my friends out there that are just like me. So number one, go within and decide. Number two, be ready to receive. I am ready to receive. I am in a receiving mode. I am receiving. And then be still. So when you are in this state of a conflict, after you've done the work, you need to just be quiet and be still. And as you shared with me before, hold your tongue.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as you're aware of the conversation and what's going on, or the conflict, then you can chime in, but not without these 3 steps of awareness and being fully awake and hearing everything your partner is saying, including yourself. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. You want to be able to hear them, and just as you're hearing, just listening, and really, really, being very present. And it's interesting because there's a lot of languaging around this as well that we can go into. That's really medicine for both men and women. It's really, really beautiful. And so the main thing I know for women, they do give a lot, and they try to give a lot, but women will get depleted. And when women are feeling depleted, it's really bringing out the worst in men, and people don't realize that that's happening. And so women are giving to men. They're receiving it as though it's a gift, not realizing about, and women are doing this because they just don't know. So for a man's testosterone to be able to be at a healthy level, he needs to be able to provide. It raises his testosterone level when you are appreciative. So you can start with something really small. It doesn't matter how small it is. But sincerity is key here, ladies. Okay. This is real. It has to be from a sincere place. It's like, thank you so much for this. That really helped me. It made me feel this. It's very important. And so as women too, one of the things that we're able to do is we really can pick up on a lot in an environment, and we pick up on a lot of subtleties, and there are reasons that we're wired that way. And men are not wired that way. So what we feel like is exaggerated for them, it isn't, because they're not wired the same. So again, it's just one of those things. Make it really clear. And because we're physical beings, touch is very, very important, and it's insincerity. It is sincerity. When I say insincerity, it sounds like I'm saying insincere. That's not what I mean. I mean, be sincere. So let yourself feel, because the thing is, we're wired to read nervous systems. We all are. Some of us are better at it than others, but we are wired to read nervous systems, all of us. And so the integrity of that, the realness of that, the softness of that, is very, very important. And so, not bringing the past in with you. And again, that's kind of that's a deep topic because of neuroception. And it really comes down to learning to trust in yourself, and learning to develop very good boundaries for yourself. And as a woman, that hasn't, there's this word in the psychology field, like codependency. You kind of bring that word into the room, and man, it's like big, and it's in flashing lights. It weighs a lot. And really what it means is you've been conditioned to survive by coming up with coping mechanisms that really aren't working for you anymore. So that's why you got to have the safety to have the space. And for women, I would say, like, create. I drew this for a friend and a student the other day. It looks like a pie. Like, I drew a circle and then I put a lot of lines in it. And I'm like, okay, here's a section of your life that's dedicated for, you're a man. The rest of it, what are you doing with it? And women, I'm going to say this again, we are wired for relationship. We're wired to be relational. And, men aren't. I don't mean they don't need women, because they do. And if they don't know that they need women, they may be very, very depleted. They may have a lot of, walls. And those are coping mechanism, protective. You don't want to don't try to chip away someone's wall. Find someone who has dismantled their wall, right? They still have their boundaries. So don't overstep the boundaries. Don't step in for a man. Let him don't step in for him, because you'll create a dynamic. As a woman, you'll be depleted. He'll be receiving gifts for free, because that's what you're doing. You're giving gifts for free because you think he's a woman and he's not. So don't step in for him. Let him lead.
Okay, I love that. That sounds so great. So my steps are, in listening to you, we acknowledge, we use our we use our female touch, physically touching the person, and we be very present and right there with that person, so we can actually have clarity of what that male is sharing with us.
Yeah, just hearing what are their needs, and what is it that you could do to make whatever, that some, let's say, you're not mothering you. If now this would be more, let's say if you're married, okay, because there's different stages. Okay, you do not want to, that saying, put the cart before the horse. This is different stages of relationship. And so once the male has shown that he is connected to you in a way that he cares about what your needs are, because the way men are wired, they can think you're very attractive and beautiful and even love you, but they're not connected to the part of themselves with you where they're going to want to meet your needs, and your needs are very important. So, and there are some needs that only your partner can meet for you. So you ladies, don't partner with someone who isn't wired in to meet your needs. And again, he can love you, he can, all the great things, but he doesn't, and that has to do with biology as well. So that's why, that has to do with like survival instincts and things like that. But just know that it's all good. So you're, independent enough, make your own decisions and don't blame other people. Recognize what's your side of the street. Your only job, your only work is to keep your side of the street clean. And, and that is, what you call an emancipated woman. And
that hits again. I keep using the same words, but of course it's baseball season, and
yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, go. Yeah, love it. Yeah.
Baseball house. But you're really hitting home with me. I can really feel it in my heart, and it's really playing out in my life. And to have these tools and this understanding of what's really going on in the energetic systems of the world today and what we're feeling, because I can feel it hit me from the outside, even though it stimulates, my issues from within. These tools and the information you have shared is right on track. It's hitting home with me. So with our listeners, love to hear from you guys about, is it hitting home with you? And what have we missed in this conversation? What else do you want us to talk about in regards to this? Share with us your thoughts, because this conversation here is open, and this conversation is privately for us. It's to make us feel better and have us take the right steps so we can run the race in our lane with our partners running right next to us, and being together, but still having our own boundaries and having our own strength.
Yeah, Khalil Gibran has a really beautiful poem that what you just said, it made me think of, I believe it's the oak tree. Let me see, I'll find it real quick and I'll read it if I can find it. And because it's exactly what you just described about you're not so close that you're, it's just really beautiful. I'll find it. Let's see.
Okay, you find it. And again,
I found it. So
okay, fabulous. Because I just want to say this, it's so important that although so many women have been giving, and that's our life path, we still have to acknowledge our own self and have our own boundaries, have our own life path, and we have to honor ourselves. So I'm so grateful you found this poem. Please read to us this sonata.
Yeah, let's see. Okay. It's funny because I didn't realize as I was looking for that one in particular, I'm finding lots of beautiful things that Khalil Gibran authored. This one in particular, I may have to find it. Maybe if I can share it. Let me see. But yeah, Lori, it's this thing around for men and women, the whole equality movement. It's where we are dynamically on the planet right now. But the thing with equality, we are created very, very differently, and the way we love looks differently, and the way we connect and communicate also is very, very different. And I think just the main line that made me think of what Khalil said was, he says, "And the oak tree and the cypress grow not in each other's shadows." It's funny because I'm kind of reading it in the opposite way he wrote it. "The pillars of the temple stand apart and stand together, yet not too near together. For only the hand of life can contain your hearts, give your hearts, but not in each other's keeping." And so, and I read that like in opposite of the sequential order that he wrote those lines in. But it's really about, a cypress is not an oak, and an oak is not a cypress. And that's the beautiful dynamic of polarity. So there's a lot of talk around masculine energy and feminine energy. And I just want everyone to know that a very masculine man also has a very soft inner being. And I feel like one of the most combative things that women have done is to, and it's not really women's fault either. Everyone has been born into a very dysfunctional way. And, so that part of it, whatever the origin of that is, just separate yourself from it, and just know that if you're partnered with a very masculine man, which is actually what a lot of women need and want and desire, he does have a softness within. A healthy masculine man does. So if you're looking, literally you're elevating. So you as a woman, you can hear, and even in this call, the more feminine you are, the stronger the requirement of you within is going to be. It's required. Does that make sense? How does that feel?
I feel that you're completely correct. I really do. I'm just thinking about being feminine. I've been feminine all my life, even though I'm very strong. I'm a very strong woman. I'm strong-willed, but I am very feminine and very creative. And there's many of me's, or my girlfriends out there, that I know feel the same, because we've all been talking.
Yeah.
And you're right. You're
Mhm.
absolutely right.
And the more masculine a man is innately, and I'm talking about divine masculine, the more divine masculine that he has retained in himself innately, the stronger he needs to partner with. It's so and when I say strong, I'm talking about feminine strong, not another man in that way. If he's, I'm talking about the heterosexual men on the planet who still like women. Okay. If you're a heterosexual male and you have a lot of divine masculine, then that man innately, and these are not conscious things. Not many people are really, truly, really embodying any of this at this point. They can, it's in you. You just have to find it, right? There's a lot of deconditioning that's got to happen, and a lot of practicing, because that's how you get the new neuronal connections. And there's a whole other topic on that in the somatic field that I'm working in as well. So, but in this context, what I can say is that his energetics are going to be drawn toward a woman who understands and trusts herself and operates in her divine feminine. And for women who want to move that direction, one of the best things I would say that you can do today, right now, stay close to this community that we are creating. And the other one is if you've got a friend, a sister, someone who aspires to embrace their own divinity in this way, keep them close with you, because there's something, when we first started the call today and we talked about the collective consciousness, there's pressure to have a lot of unconscious agreements about how bad men are. Now, I'm not saying there aren't bad men on the planet. It's just, now, if you want a bad man, that's a little easier to do. Okay. And if you want a good man, you need to learn some things and not destroy within him the very thing that's brought you to him. And the same is true for a man. And it's on you as a woman. It really is on you as a woman to have healthy enough boundaries to recognize when that's happening, to let him go. Okay.
That is so deep, Gloria. It's just really very interesting how you highlighted both of those. That knowledge is just such great wisdom.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for, thank you, Lori. It's definitely something that's very important to me. And actually, like, the work I do with horses, my heart led me to that. It pulled me just as powerfully as this is as well. And this pulls me very powerfully too. And so they're not mutually exclusive. So I never want to leave the horses out of anything because they're such an important part of what's brought me to where I am right now today. And but I know, so for you and for the listeners, that's another thing. Let your heart really, really, truly, pull you in the direction it wants to. There'll be something there for you. When when you are congruent, and surround yourself with good people who are aspiring to live the kind of life that you're feeling called to live, because that will help you. You'll be able to, that saying, iron sharpens iron. And we could just say, like, flowers grow together, however you want to say it. But I found here's the Khalil Gibran. He says, you were born together, and together you shall be forevermore. You shall be together when the white wings of death scatter your days. Yes, you shall be together even in the silent memory of God. But let there be spaces in your togetherness. Ladies, that line right there, let there be spaces in your togetherness. When a man comes toward and then goes away, his testosterone level, he's been, with your estrogen dominant, which is beautiful. But his testosterone level needs to come back up. So when he goes away, you have to trust him, and you have to trust you if you trust yourself, you'll choose the right partner, and you won't be worried about with those spaces. So he needs that for his testosterone to come up again. Okay. And so here are the rest of the lines. And let the winds of heaven dance between you. Love one another, but make not a bond of love. Let it rather be a moving sea between the shores of your souls. Fill each other's cup, but drink not from one cup. Give one another of your bread, but eat not from the same loaf. Sing and dance together and be joyous, but each one of you be alone, even as the strings of a lute are alone, though they quiver with the same music. Give your hearts, but not in each other's keeping, for only the hand of life can contain your hearts. And stand together, yet not too near together. For the pillars of the temple stand apart, and the oak tree and the cypress grow not in each other's shadows. So that's cool. Yeah, it's a lot to think about there, right? Feminine love's relational. So think about how you can design your life, because Khalil Gibran is a man, and it's beautiful, and there's a lot of poetic truth in the energetics of what that is. And also, most of us were born in cultures that have created requirements that have hurt the energetics of what men need to be men, and for what women need to be women. So let's all empower one another here. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of bravery and a lot of wisdom, and you can do it.
That makes perfectly good sense. We have to keep our boundaries. We have to, I shouldn't say those words, please forgive me, but it would be in our best interest to know what our boundaries are and keep them established, run our life in our own lane, supporting ourselves, because within that, we are able to support the male.
And the male can support the female as well. And that's where anytime a woman starts to complain or nag, which is what men think women are doing, she's gone depleted, she's taken on the masculine role, and she's lost the balance. And that's why she's trying to get her needs met. They hear men typically, and men can chime in certainly, that she is nagging and complaining. And the reason she's doing that is because she's depleted. She's trying to get her needs met, and she hasn't known how to receive. And she stepped in and did the job for the masculine, and the masculine allowed that to occur because, again, to the man, that's a free gift.
Mm-hmm.
So it does come back to, there is this interesting dynamic is in the financial realm of all of this, because we live on a planet where, that. So just know, men, if you want to play that role, that there's a level of provision that needs to come forth. And so it's on the woman not to partner with a man who energetically, if you don't have a level of awareness to work this out, it will cause pain. Okay. Yeah.
Wow. That's super deep, Gloria. I'm so happy we had this conversation today.
Me too.
This is really, really nice. So
yeah, I look forward to hearing how everyone kind of bounces back and forth between those. Which one are you really, really grounded in? And just know that either one, it's not wrong or better than or less than. It is just what is true for us as energetic beings. And then you can have more compassion for yourself and for everyone and for anyone that you may, be partnering with. And that's what matters here.
okay, so just to sum that up, we all are aware this is a learning experience. We are all aware that we have to be in a state of compassion, not only for thyself, but for others around us. And we hear that word all the time now, compassion. And then lastly, I think most important thing is we have to have gratitude. Gratitude for the self, for all the work we are doing, moving spiritually ahead, putting our energy up and vibrating our frequencies higher by letting go of the old beliefs and patterns and programs that we keep holding on to without awareness. I think, yes.
Yes. And what new patterns are you going to put in place? Yeah. And
yes.
Yeah. And I don't know how long we've been on our call today. I know that we can go very deep and riff, and some people love to go deep and some people love to riff, and I certainly am one of them. And so as we talk, just what you were summing up, there's many things that came to me that I would like to share about that, just in the context of what you said. But I know somewhere we have to have a jumping off point. So just let me know, what your thoughts are on that. So if you want to.
Well, I think today, in closing with that last poem, was really beautiful because it left me with many thoughts. And today we had to highlight the solutions we need to take for ourselves. And of those are to go within and be still, to decide what side of the fence we're actually on and keep those boundaries. We have to be open to receive the way the gifts are given without judgment or criticism. We have to continue our path of openness by being very, very present and actually hearing what that other has to say.
Yeah.
And although the energies are wonked out, with the clarity you shared with us today, I feel much more grounded, stable, and I am now able to focus. And so I am extremely grateful with this conversation about relationships and the spiritual energies that we're working through right now.
Yeah.
I really bless you, Gloria, for this time today.
Thank you, Gloria. Bless you so much. Thank you for this conversation. Thank you for the listeners. If you like this community, my website's gloriahester.com, and you can read all about my animal work there with dogs and horses and humans. And, it's funny because I don't have anything out there about relational, but again, this is a deep, deep study for me for many, many, possibly lifetimes even. But, yeah, I love sharing this wisdom. And so, it's very, very important right now. So you can build each other up and, support yourselves and support one another. It's imperative for everyone to be able to do this, because what we are just, you're wired to do this. So we just need to understand the choices and what your choices are. So thank you,
Yeah.
Lord.
Thank you, Gloria. And our next call will be a surprise review of what the energy and the energetic systems are bringing up for that next time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We will have an open forum. We will be looking at everything our listeners have requested and questions you have submitted. We'll be answering a few of those.
Mm-hmm.
And moving forward, we will be focusing on relationships and the best way to interact with them with simple steps
Mm-hmm.
on a monthly basis.
Yeah. Wonderful. All right. We'll see you all soon. Thank you so much for joining today. And bye for now.
Bye for now.